do people have to have a certification in order to get a government contract?
Unless you're Boeing, yeah.
Okay.
You know, I mean, if you're a small business and you're a minority or a woman, you'd be crazy not to get it, right? Because it designates you in a separate class and kind of weeds you out from everyone else. So you don't necessarily need it, but it's a competitive advantage.
Right. Welcome back to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. This is the podcast where we have extraordinary conversations with extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. Avi, what is up with you?
What's up? What's up? Look at you. What you are? And dapper. And
You know, I had to get cute for the man today. You know,
for the man.
they had to take some pictures of me today.
Okay.
You know, yeah, we doing a lot of promo work for the podcast studio, and media is coming after me right now.
I see.
Had to look cute today. You know, but,
you look real nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. How you feeling?
Yeah.
Everything all right?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm feeling good. You know, it's really time to get into some warm weather. I tell you that.
I'm so sick of this damn weather.
It's
My God.
time to get into some warm
I'm so
weather.
sick of this damn weather.
I need some sun for more than a day.
It's been snowing. It seemed like every day nonstop, and it's just depressing.
It really is.
It really is. But, you know, we're going to make it hot today. We're going to make it hot today because we have a phenomenal guest with us. This is one of my good friends. I got to turn around and look at her. You know what I'm saying? It's one of my good friends. When you talk about people who are just doing incredible things in business, just in life. I mean, and you talk about like really good people too.
Yeah.
You know, just really genuine people, people who want to see other people win. You know, this is what Christian's all about.
Right.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I've had the opportunity to know Christian now for a long time. Yeah.
Years.
It's been a long time.
Tell us our age.
Yeah, right. But we still look good though. We still look
Yes,
good.
we do.
Right? Yeah, so but no, Christian Johnson is an entrepreneur, business leader. Not just a business owner, she's a business leader.
Okay.
She has a phenomenal story. I've seen Christian's growth over the last, I want to say, better half of the last 10 years or so. In a number of different companies, but over the last couple of years, last several years, she's like skyrocketing. I mean, she's out of this world right now. Okay. I came out here. She was actually on another podcast, that we produced. Shout out to Black Gems Diving Podcast.
Yeah.
And, we were leaving the podcast studio and, we were walking outside. I'm like, Christian, where'd you park? And she was like, oh, I'm right there. And I looked at her car. I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, okay. Christian is
doing good.
Business is doing really well for her right now. Really well, but she's not about the things, even though she can afford the things and she wants the things, but we really want to kind of talk to people, and give people some game really around this government contracting space.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and I thought what better person to have come in and talk about it than Christian. So, Christian, welcome to the show. We
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
being on.
I need you to do all of my intros. I'm just going to record them.
Listen, I can do this.
Website.
For you, Christian, I could do this all day. I can do this all day.
For all of that, thank you. But, you said something that is just true to my heart. I really want to see everybody win.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really do. So,
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for coming.
Thanks
for coming. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute. Christian is a busy woman, man. I tell you. Christian is a busy woman.
Don't do me like that.
Yeah, but no, like it's just, listen, I will reschedule for her any day, any time of the week because I know,
That's my guy.
yeah, like we rock like that,
Came through the trenches.
Other people who rescheduled, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, it's all right. We don't have to reschedule. With you, we can reschedule,
man,
so it's cool. But no, and all jokes aside, we really appreciate you being on the show. And again. We it's a lot going on in the world right now. We see a lot of things happening with our economy, potential recessions we're going in and such. And the one thing I always tell people is that, you really want to get into this space if you have a business of government contracting, because the government is the largest purchaser of goods and services like in the country, right? Spend billions of dollars, and they have certain amount of money set aside, for specifically for women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, but people don't necessarily know the process about how to kind of tap into that, right? So we're going to get into that in a second, but we like to kind of dive in and kind of go into people's backstories a little bit. So, you had a company, you came on my radar when you had the company Driver Watchdog, right? And then from there, you just kind of pivoted, into Beautiful Brain. So kind of talk about that transition a bit.
Yeah, so when we met, Driver Watchdog, I was inventing that product. It was around the time when Mike Brown, was killed by the police. And so, that was a product that really was driven out of anxiety. Right. My son was getting ready to drive at that time, and I just needed a way to keep an eye on him, as you know. And so I invented a product that really did that and was able to keep families connected with their loved ones that were driving. With Driver Watchdog, because everybody always asks me, like, okay, was that a success or did it fail, or like, why did you change, and no, it was a success to me because it really was a ladder for me to be in different positions. So I always feel like God gives me these purposes, and so I don't really look at anything as a failure. But it was around the time where there wasn't a lot of women in technology, and it was like, I was kind of a unicorn in that space, and then Black women in technology, forget about it. Right. So, and with a technical product like that, you need a capital raise. You need to be raising millions of dollars, and so at that time, it just wasn't the norm for a lot of minority-owned, women-owned companies to be raising that type of money. But we were making progress, and through Driver Watchdog, President Obama invited me to the White House, and I was on the reality show with Matthew McConaughey and Rooster McConaughey, and it gained me notoriety. And I've met some incredible people, partners that I have to this day. And so it was hard. Driver Watchdog was my baby. It was very hard. Like, people had to pry my fingers off of it because I would have rode it to the death of me. But, the market changed, and cars were getting smarter, and it was being embedded, that type of technology was being embedded into vehicles anyway. And then, of course, you got self-driving technology and all of this that was starting to make my product obsolete before I could really get it to the market, right? So when we talk about first in the market, or when we talk about your product doesn't need to be perfect, get it out there, I was trying to perfect it before getting it to the market. I've learned so much with Driver Watchdog. But, again, it was time to move on and bury it. And Michelin came around, and they were interested in the technology and the design behind it, and so it was like, all right, let me let it go.
Did you sold technology to Michelin?
I sold because it was really primitive technology, so it wasn't like for this high price tag, but it was like, okay, giving baby up for adoption, right? So let it go. My partner, he had long talks with me to convince me. It was like, move on to something else. But during this time, I still understood the power of being an MWBE and being within, federal government contracting. I always looked at it like reparations for Black people. Yes. Right?
Ooh, that's an interesting
It's not easy.
Always
they don't make
that.
it easy to get in there.
Okay.
But once you're in there,
you're good.
You can be very rich. Yes. I mean, many ex-military people, they are in government contracting. They do very well. But they don't make it easy, right, for us to get in. So to your point, that's how I started to pivot. It took a lot of convincing, but I did have a certification already from New York State that I just got because I'm just like, I need a backup plan just because. And I wasn't doing anything with it. And so my partner approached me, and he was just like, let's form a business together. Let's start. You're good in technology. Let's start a technology company, and we will offer our services to the government. And so that's really how I started to pivot and got into government contracting. So yeah.
It's really interesting that you say. I want to kind of touch on that point about the reparations part, right? Because I've been saying this for as long as I can remember. When I got into this this space of being certified and, trying to get into this government contracting space, again, the government is the largest purchaser of goods and services, right? So, and like you said, once you're in, like that one contract can change your life.
Oh yeah,
it can seriously change your life, and that's why I think it's just so important that if you do have a business, to get certified, right? Well, and that, not all businesses, right? But I think most businesses, most services, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most services, and products and services the government will buy.
Yeah, right? To anything, like a painting on the wall. Whatever you do, the government will pretty much buy it. But the thing is that people think once you get certified, it's like, oh, all these contracts are going to fall out the sky. And it's not like that. It's so much work. And marketing yourself, I mean, there's, I don't know, 100,000 government contracting small business companies in the United States. And so, you have to market yourself just like anywhere else. Now, the reward can be very lucrative because you're going to get a long-term contract, and and the government pays their bills, so you're not going to have to worry about that. Right. But yeah, the certification is like, there's many levels and there's many steps to really getting in and then becoming wealthy off of government contracting. Certification is one. That's a year-long process. Let's just call it a year-and-a-half-long process, and then the marketing behind it at the same time as staying in compliance with your certification, right? So now you're marketing your brand, you're running your business, also everything that comes with staying in compliance with the government. So they don't make it easy. But if you can figure it out and if you can get help, you absolutely can become very wealthy. But yeah, I mean, there's some challenges.
Yeah. So in addition to marketing, it's relationship building as well, right? Because you have to have, the key to, I think, this life in general is just having good relationships with people, right? And if you have good relationships, they can put you in places and spaces that, those have you not had those relationships, you probably wouldn't have been in those spaces, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's my whole thing in life anyway, networking,
right,
relationships, and everybody leverages some relationship, in some way. I will say I am blessed to have an amazing partner and mentor.
Shout out to my guy.
Yeah, Rashad is dope. And so,
Super dope.
I'm the type of person who, I'm a very good saleswoman. So if you can give me anything in front of me and I'm going to sell it, I'm going to find a customer and sell it. Rashad will rein me back in and say, we're consultants, we're not salespeople, right? So it's more of shaping the work is what he calls it. It's so that I'm not bidding with these other 100,000 companies, right? I've already built the relationship with the agency. I've already built the relationship with the contracting officer. We've already done dinner and drinks and all of that, so that when the RFP comes out, it's written to me. And I'm the only one who could really win it, even though it looks competitive.
Right.
It's really written to me.
Right.
And so that is shaping the work. That is how is the best way, because it's very costly to put in proposals. I mean, it's really a proposal Brittany knows. It's really a proposal team that you have to put together. It costs a lot of money. It's a lot of time, especially if you're putting in a proposal in the way the government has to accept it. I mean, everything down to the spacing, to the size of the font. Everything has to be a certain way. You're putting in those proposals, 6 months to a year sales cycle turnaround time. No business can sustain off of that if you're just waiting on proposals to come in, right? So you need the best odds to win. And that's how you shape the work. That's when you're schmoozing everybody.
So is that only for those high-end contracts, or are there smaller contracts that doesn't really take all of those proposals and things of that nature?
There is smaller contracts. You have on your local level, there's county contracts. There is contracts that, might not even have any competitors, especially locally, state, county, city. There might be only 2 or 3 competitors where you don't have to do this long proposal process. And it just really depends. But federal government, I don't know if you can make a great living on local and state contracts. Federal government is where you're going to get wealthy. And so I'm just speaking on the federal side right now, that's how much it takes to get in. But there absolutely is things you can do and contracts you can win that don't take all of that work.
Right.
Okay.
Go ahead. No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so because I noticed that during the pandemic, we had a boost in businesses that have started because a lot of people see that, I have to do my own thing. I can't depend on a job. So a lot of businesses are maybe a year or two in. So for a business that's a year or two in, may not have their certification. I know that the first thing you say, they must be certified. But after that, what are the steps that they can do since they can't can they just go after a federal contract after being in business for like a year or two? Or should you have maybe 5-10 years in? Like, how long does it take?
Well, first of all, shout out to all the businesses who started during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Penny businesses.
Because in crisis and in wartime is when people become rich.
Absolutely.
And so I commend people who all like, what am I doing? Yes, start the business. As far as should you be in business? No, you should not wait. But what you should do, you can be in business a year and get federal contracts, but what you should do is find a partner who is going to be, because the government is looking at your past performance. Who have you worked with before? They don't take chances on brand new businesses, but there's companies out there who will partner with you, especially if you have a designation like an M or a W or a disabled veteran. They will partner with you because they're more likely to win a contract if they have these different designated partners. But companies who do not have past performance need to partner with a mentor company.
Okay.
So let's kind of rewind just a little bit because, we talked about that, but just the initial phase of getting certified, right? I have my certificate because this is about to be a whole masterclass for me too, right? Because listen, I've been certified now for maybe about 4 or 5 years. I first got certified local county. I'm state certified. I'm registered in SAM, but that's not really technically certified, right? So how do people actually start that? Like I'm Joe Blow. I have a business out here. I want to get certified. I have no idea how to start. How do I get certified?
So you're in SAM. You're certified with New York State.
I am, yes.
Okay. So if you're already certified with New York State, it's a little bit easier of a process because you've already been vetted, especially by one of the hardest states in the country, right?
Let me say this too. New York State was hard, because like initially I started my process with New York State. The process was just like absolutely insane. I stopped it, and I was like, you know what? Let me go through city county first. So I got city county certification, and then I made a call to the county, and it was like, hey, can you fast track my application through the state so I don't have to go through the state process? So that's how I was able to get certified.
And the county process is ridiculous too.
Yeah, it was real. it wasn't like New York State, but
that's true.
Yeah, but it was real though.
It was jumping through hoops. But so if you're with New York State, it's same with the federal. It's a little bit easier to get to the federal level.
Okay.
But the feds, they do check everything, so you have to have your address. And they're, when you register with SAM, you probably had to do that. Do you have a cage code?
Yep.
All right,
Cage
so you already
code,
went through that.
Yep.
So then it's just really going through the process, the same thing as New York State, documentation. That's all they want to see. They want to make sure that, you're not behind on any federal taxes, of course. And really just they want to make sure, same thing as with the state, they want to make sure that you're actually doing the business that you say you're doing. So your NAICS code and everything matches up. And just look at your past performance. Who have you done business with before? So it's not that it's hard, it's tedious and it's long. It takes forever. And it's just like, for me, for my 8A, I was denied 3 times during COVID. I was denied 3 times, but everybody knows that I am a stalker. So I will stalk somebody if I don't like the decision. And so, I did. I went all the way up to the chain, to D.C., to the SBA, and I was just like, there's no way you're telling me that I'm denied during COVID. I'm like, you don't want to see a black woman win in COVID?
Play the race card. Play the race card.
They're like, give her 8A.
You know what? Just give it to her. Get her out of here.
We ain't trying to
Get her
have
out of
this
here.
Yeah, so so I'll say that. Don't ever take no for an answer. But it just took forever. It was like a 2-year process for me to go through that, and still had to beg my way into the program. So I don't know why, but you know what? When anytime you have the potential to make that amount of money, it's not going to be easy, and I fully understand, and I understand that. I'm prepared for that. Right.
So you talked about earlier about making yourself marketable. So okay, you got your certifications, and like you said, it's not a easy. As soon as you get your certification, you know these contracts is going to start flowing in.
Right.
How do you make yourself marketable?
Yeah. Well, so for me, and I'll just give you the game here, my game. For me, I'm knocking on doors. I never do business in the office, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to know where whoever my target, whoever I'm like laser focused on, whoever my target is, I'm just going to stalk her. I know everything about you. I know where you hang out, where you eat, where you do dinner, I'm just going to casually pop up to those places and bump into him. We're going to start talking about what Beautiful Brains does. And, oh, you're a contract officer. Okay. I put myself in, like you said before in the beginning, it's networking. Mm-hmm. It's really marketing yourself that way. You can send out email blasts. You can do that. They're not going to get looked at. You can call.
What's some effective ways? To market
it's
yourself?
Like really in person, especially now after COVID. Like it's really psychological. Everybody wants to be in person now because they don't want to do Zoom because we're zoomed out.
Oh God!
And so like it's a psychological effect. People do business with people they like and they trust, right? Mm-hmm. So you can't really get to know me unless we're face to face or we're breaking bread or we're having a drink. So I keep it very casual at first. Mm-hmm. I want to build the relationship with whoever my target is first. Then I'm gonna hit you with my ass. Mm-hmm. But first, we're just gonna be cool, and we're gonna vibe, and you're gonna understand my energy. Because quite frankly, I don't want to do business with people I don't like either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
No matter who it is, right? So we're gonna feel each other out. So that's what works for me. Email, I'm gonna follow up with my little email blasts and whatever. But I don't really find those that effective. Mm-hmm. I find like, hey, Mr. Contract Officer, I'm gonna be in DC next week. Do you have time for lunch? That to me is just so much more effective.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I have a marketing team.
All right. So you said that, I'm in DC. I'll be there. For people who can't travel for whatever reason, so you said that you see your target and everything like that. How did you find your target? Because it seemed like your targets could be anywhere, but did you find any targets locally that it was? Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have customers all around Western New York and New York State. It's a different conversation than I have with my federal customers. Like everybody's a different conversation, just depending on the space that they're in. But as an entrepreneur, there is no such thing as I can't travel, right? Like I have to do what I have to do, and I have to make sure that I'm being honest about what it takes to be successful and
how bad you really want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? And it could be a financial thing, right? But you have to be able to be honest with yourself and say, I know it's going to take me to travel. If you don't have the means to do what you need to do, then maybe you need to step back for a second and kind of reassess the situation or switch up your business model. It just depends. But I'm very clear on like some of the things I need to do. And let's be clear, I didn't always have money. Like, so like, and I remember specifically during Driver Watchdog times that I didn't even know how the gas tank made it down to the Urban League to have a meeting with like Michael McCarley, and like I would have to put on this face like, yeah, I'm good, and then like I cry in the car as soon as I left because like I didn't know I was getting home. So it's real, and I get that, but I had to have real conversations with myself like, am I going to get my hair and nails done, or am I going to put it into this, right? So,
but I like how you said that because I feel like in business, what people don't understand is that your mindset definitely has to change, right? Yeah. So, what was some things that you had to change about the mindset that you probably had before even starting a business or going through a business? Like, what were some things that you had to overcome when it comes to your mindset?
Everything. So, I'm born and raised on the east side of Buffalo. That's where my family and a lot of my friends are. And, first and foremost, I had changed my circle. A lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. I had to change because, like, if people aren't going to the same places you are or don't have the same motivation or the same mindset, it'll bring you down and get you into something that you might not be able to get out of. So my circle changed immediately. And just being able to do certain things that I used to like to do, hang out certain places that I just felt like I can't do that anymore. So, back in the day, I used to work for Nas, right? The rapper, right? Yeah. So I went on tour with him. And one of the things Nas used to always say is, like, he doesn't go back to Queensbridge because he had to change. Like, you're supposed to change when you get money. Like, you're not supposed to be the same person.
Right, exactly.
And people did not. And I used to stay in Queensbridge with his other part of his family, and they did not understand that about him, and it made it almost like, oh, he's a sellout, he's a sucker because he doesn't come and hang in the hood. Like, who does that? When you're a millionaire, right? So you have to change your circle, but not in a manner of thinking like you're better than anybody, but just because you have to change with your growth, and not a lot of people accept that. So that's one of the things that I struggled and had to kind of get over.
Yeah. Like they always say too, like if you look around in your circle and evaluate your circle, and if people in your circle are not helping you grow, you don't have a circle, you have a cage.
That's right.
And you got to make sure that,
and you are judged on your association.
Absolutely.
That's a fact.
And so it's like, I cannot be around, knuckleheads and thinking that you're not going to be judged as that, right? And so, and that is a progression, because I have not been always this mature. That is just a progression of, being in different spaces and around different people. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to grow. And, I'm unapologetic about that.
Absolutely love it. So kind of going back to this government contracting thing for a second. So do people have to have a certification in order to get a government contract?
Unless you're Boeing, yeah.
Okay.
If you're a small business and you're a minority or a woman, you'd be crazy not to get it, right? Because it designates you in a separate class and kind of weeds you out from everyone else. So you don't necessarily need it, but it's a competitive advantage.
Right. Right. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine earlier today. We were talking about government contracting, and that's the one thing that I was trying to, impress upon her, is that, because she was saying, well, maybe I might not need, my certifications, because she's in the process of trying to get certified right now. Maybe I might not need my certifications, in order to go after these contracts. And I'm like, well, if you have the certifications, it's going to make you stand out a little bit more.
She a black woman?
Of course.
Yeah. She needs a certification. Why wouldn't you get it?
Yeah.
But, certification, you just put it out there and you let it marinate. And when it comes, like, you don't stop business waiting for your certification to come in. You put it out there. You know it's going to take time, and you do everything else necessary for you to be able to, once you get that certification, now you can run and all your marketing materials together, everything's together, and that's what you were doing during that time, or building your past performance. Do small jobs around so you can build your history, and now when the certification comes, you can run with it.
How do people go about, like, establishing those relationships with, like, those partnership relationships that you were talking about, right? Because, for example, if I was, smaller, new company that just came out, I wanted to go after a certain contract. I don't really have a lot of past performance, but I know company over here, they might have the performance. So how do I create that relationship with them, even if I don't know them though necessarily? So like, how do I do that?
So understanding your value too. If you have a certification and company A over here is the prime, right? They're already in business with the government, and they got a contract, and they don't have any certification, just big company, probably white-led company, right? You're valuable to them because partnering with you makes them stand out as well, right? And now it pulls them out of the crowd too, and it gives them, you are their competitive advantage, right? So it's really understanding your worth. So if I'm going to a company and I don't have the past performance, and it's almost like, okay, well, I have an 8A. You don't have to go through the whole entire competitive bid process when you're partnered with an 8A like me. There's set aside money. They don't have to go through that process. That is huge. I don't have to do all that proposal and putting it together and all of that stuff, that year-long sales cycle. You can cut out just by partnering with me, right? I know my advantage to them. So now, number one, you're not going to talk me off with a percentage and like I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting paid. Right. And two, you're not going to send me like, okay, well, go sit. I don't need you, because you actually do need me, and this is why. So just knowing your worth you bring to these larger companies, they're actually looking for small businesses.
Right.
It's just finding them and getting it to the person in charge and getting that meeting.
So then that's...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So then that's kind of another way to get into it. Instead of going after the federal contract yourself, you could partner with companies that has these federal contracts and get in that way too.
And that's a better strategy. And that's the easier strategy. And that's probably the only one that's going to work, especially until you get to multi-$100 million business where you can prime the federal government. Because it's I cannot supply the federal government, right? Like I have a contract with the Air Force. Little old me cannot supply enough product to the United States Air Force, right? Even if I wanted to. And I know that. My capacity is this, and they know that too. So I have to partner with a larger company that can do that, right? So it's almost like the Bills Stadium, how there was only 4 companies in the entire world who could do that stadium. That's it. All these other companies were like, well, we want to get in. There's 4 out of the world who can build a stadium and to that capacity. So it's like, that's not my competitor. We are not in competition. So we're not going against each other. So the smart thing is to partner with them. And it's really the only strategy that you can do with large federal contracts like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really vital that you said that. Now, you mentioned something about, knowing your worth as well, because I've had, larger agencies, communications, media companies who wanted to partner with me, right? And, I would come in as a subcontractor, but they were trying to pay me way less than I know what I was worth, right? So what do you say to that? Like when you have opportunities, do you just kind of take what's thrown at you, or do you try to, negotiate your worth and your value? Because the thing is, like, I'm just not going to take any old job just because you throw a certain dollar amount at me, and I know the work that I'm going to be providing is not worth what you're paying me in return, right? So, talk to that for a second.
I never negotiate price. I always negotiate scope of work. That's it. If you don't want to pay me my price, it's fine. I'm just going to lower what I'm giving you.
Gotcha.
Never.
That's good.
Gotcha.
Because as soon as you lower your price, it's like you don't know what you're worth.
Right.
You understand? So nobody can give me anything if I don't like it. I'm just lowering the scope. That's it. Okay, for $5,000.
That's a whole bar right there.
That's good right
That's
there.
a whole bar right there.
That's a shift perspective.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Never, because it cheapens you.
Right.
And the thing about it is, you're not going to Louis Vuitton and you're not going to negotiate. And you're not going to go to you're not going to go to General Dynamics or Lockheed Martin. You're not going to negotiate with them. You're not. They're just going to switch up what they deliver to you. And that's fine. This is what you're getting for $5,000, right?
Man.
That's it.
Wow.
That's a whole bar. We got to clip that part out
No,
there. We got to push that out because that's a whole
Wow.
bar right there because and this is I try to impress upon people. You got to know your worth. You got to know your value, right?
Yeah.
Because people will, especially larger companies, larger agencies, they will try to lowball you, and if you allow them, they absolutely they will, right? So
but you know what? As a negotiator myself, I mean, I always negotiate with people, and it's never trying to offend them. It's just like I'm always trying to get the lower price, but I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I never get mad when people try to do it. It's just like, okay, cool. That's your budget, $25,000. Great. This is what I can give you for $25,000. Now the ball's in your court.
Right.
I'll take it.
Right.
And I get it when you're trying to get revenue, but the thing is once you offer it to one person, you got to offer it to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And now you have cheapened yourself when you're the one who put this blood, sweat, and tears into this business, and you know what it's worth. So nobody can really decipher that for you.
That's interesting. So now I have a question then, because we have, people say different things when it comes to your website. Some people say, make sure you put your prices on there so people know if they can afford it. And other people say, don't put your prices on there because everybody may, you may get more, you may get less. So for you to say what you just said, should you not have the prices of your services just up there, because some people may pay more than what you think you're worth or whatever.
And before you answer that, that's a really good question, because this is something I struggle with. because I have, a couple of different businesses. With the main media company, Cruise Control Media, I don't have prices anywhere, so I know what the worth and the value of the services and that we provide. So, like you said, I don't really negotiate much outside of that. But like with the podcast company, I do have the prices on the website, and part of me, I'm just like, oh, should I really put them on there? Because I wouldn't want to work with a larger agency that I know who can pay me a lot more money than probably what I'm offering on this website for like the smaller companies.
I think it depends on the industry you're in and the business that you're in. For my company, product sales, it doesn't make sense to put the pricing on there because when people order in volume, the price is discounted. And I'm not kind of e-commerce, so it doesn't make sense for me to do that. For a podcast, it might, but I feel like it's more exclusive when I can call somebody, and I feel like I'm getting tailored service when I call and be like, okay, this is what I need, and you're packaging a deal specifically for me, you're customizing it for me.
Right.
Could be the same price you would put on the website, but I just feel like it's more customized. It's kind of probably the approach I would take. I don't know. I think it's industry by industry.
Right.
It would
and that's the approach I usually take. I try to, create customized packages and things like that for clients that I'm working with. Right.
Yeah.
So, but
that gives you a more exclusive feel for this type of service.
Right.
Though.
Right.
Push your mic towards you a little
Oh.
All right. So let me ask you, there are like people who trying to find these different contract opportunities and such out there. Where are some places people can go? What if there are websites where they can try to find like these different contract opportunities?
Okay, so I would say it's like information overload out there. It is so stressful. Even just the SBA or SAM website is just stressful. I don't know. It's it's so bad.
Oh my God!
It really is. It's
Getting
like
registered in SAM. Oh, this the registration process.
Yes,
which is a lot.
So trying to find opportunities. I mean, there's a million ways to find, and there's a million companies who will do it for you. Is
that the easier route to have another company do it for you? Because some companies try to see like what industry you're in, and then they try to tailor certain contracts to you, right?
Yes, and there's companies out here who do that. They're not cheap.
That's what I'm about to say.
Expensive.
That's my thing. It's like
they're very expensive.
They do it for you, but then they're gonna want to eat off of it too.
Okay.
You can, but I'll just tell you, like trying to go after government contracting alone is really difficult. Like you really need a team, and it's like federal.
Yeah.
You really need a team. But if you're looking for contracts, I mean, you can go on SAM, you can go on Certify, you can go on FSBO or USA Spend. I mean, there's so many different, and this is why it's so annoying, right? Because it's so decentralized, and there's contract. You can go straight on the department that you're looking for, because if you're just like government contracts, first of all, you need to do a lot of research. Like you need to see what agencies buy what you're selling. Not everybody buys what you're selling, but like which one does, and then who buys the most. Like $10,000 spend in a year might not be worth you putting in all these proposals for $10,000 contract. Right? So now you want to do at least that research. Okay, I'm targeting the VA, I'm targeting Homeland Security, I'm targeting the DOD, right? And now how much do they spend on, for me as an example, medical products? Oh, millions and millions of dollars, great. I can target them, right? Now I'm going, DOD is also huge, right? You got Air Force, Navy, the Army, you got DLA, you got everything under there. Which one of you buys the most, right? Now I really have to narrow this down, because if you try to attack the federal government as a whole, it's way too big.
It's way too much.
It's too much. And you'll just get frustrated. You won't get a response.
And then you'll end up giving up.
Yeah, and you'll give up. And then you'll be like, this is a lie.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
It's a scam. It's a scam. Multi-level marketing.
It actually does work, but you got to bite a little at a time. And then after you do all of that research, now you got to figure out who runs those departments, who are the contract officers, and now you got to call and go to DC, and you got to do all that stuff, right?
Okay. Build those relationships.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, this is good stuff. I mean, again, we can sit here and have a whole masterclass on government contracting, you know, because I just think it's really important and vital for people to kind of, one, understand, you know, the space of government contracting, but also understand the opportunities that exist within government contracting, because, again, it can, like, one contract can change your whole life. It can change your life.
Yes, if you're not selling and you're consulting, there's a difference. And like, if you are going to sell, and not understanding what they need, you're just going to be knocking on doors.
So the consulting space is the way to go.
It's the consulting, and I'll just give a plug to shout out to the Key to Everything class, written and ran by Rashad Howard. But it is a class. It's actually an amazing class, because it's like, like I told you, I'm a salesperson. I will sell water to a well. It doesn't matter. But when you're consulting, it is hard to stop talking and listen more. And that's what it teaches you. You have to understand your customer and what keeps them up at night, right? Like, you have to understand that. Yeah. I could say, Jamil, I got a brown blazer for you. And you're like, I already got a brown blazer. I don't need it because I don't know what you want. Right. I don't know what you need. You might need a black one, but I don't care, because I'm just starting trying to sell you a brown blazer. I'm not listening to what you need. So, and that's actually a skill set. And so, like, learning to do that, it was hard for me. So, like, I like sales. So I had to, like, slow down and learn how to be a consultant. And then my conversations changed.
So you said the Key to Everything?
The Key to Everything class.
Is that a course that he offers about like teaching people getting into government contracting space?
And it's not just, it's like really the space, not just government contracting, but it's applicable. Okay. But it's consulting in period, right? Gotcha. In business period. So it's a great class. And I got a call with him afterwards. I'm like, you owe me. You owe me. I want my plug money.
I need to get into that. I need to enroll in that class.
It's a great class. She just took it. And I took it years ago, probably I think in 2016. Anybody who works for me goes through that. I put through that class because it's and then you can take it anywhere. But anybody who comes through my organization goes to the Key to Everything.
That's good to know.
Yeah, because I think I'm definitely,
Google it.
Sure gonna take that class.
And the thing about it is that the one thing that Jamil and I are doing, you know, we're constantly trying to grow our skills. So we're even trying to do like Toastmasters and things like that. So just trying to really hone in on certain things. So that's a good one. Then we need to do that one too.
Key to Everything class. So shout out to Rashad. Like Rashad's a good dude too, man. I had the opportunity to meet him. I first met Rashad.
In Baltimore, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. So he pulled up at an Urban League conference. I mean, I think he pulled up like in a Bentley or something. You know, it was something crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look at this fly black dude right here. Young black dude, too. You know what I mean? So, and then, you know, him and Christian hosted like this really dope.
The dinner.
The dinner, that was amazing.
We got to do another dinner.
Yes, we do. That was an amazing dinner. And you know, just again having those relationships, relationships with people, where you can add value to people as well. So, because how often do we talk about this? You know, not when we are trying to build relationships with people. We don't do it in a way where we can look to see what we can get out of the relationship. Right. We always look to serve first, right? How can we add value to this relationship? Because when you add value, it's always going to be reciprocated.
That's right.
Right. So I think that's a key in a gym within itself. You know, so people need to understand. So Christian, like, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. Like, I gotta get you to come back because it's so many more questions. And I know you got to run, but I listen. Again, we can sit and do a whole master class on this because I just want to teach people this stuff. I really want to have people, you know, be exposed to these different opportunities that's out there that's just waiting for them out there.
If we can all win, there's enough money to go around.
That's the thing.
We can all win. Yeah. People's egos get involved, and so they don't necessarily want to take advice from, because they're like, you think you're better than me, I'm not taking advice from you. People's egos get involved, but when
advice. You know. I take it all. I don't care who it's coming from.
I do too. I do too.
Who it's coming from, but
if you know something, please let's sit down.
If you know something I don't know, then please put me on.
But as a community, I think a lot. As a black woman, I think in our community, a lot of it is like we don't want to share information. It's almost this crab in a bucket mentality. If I share with you, I'm taking away from me, and you might take from what I have. And I've just never operated in that way. I absolutely love competition, so doesn't bother me at all. But Like, let's all eat.
Yeah.
I love it. She's
like
always
that.
been that way.
Yeah.
Always been
Like,
that way.
It's weird.
Yeah. So if people wanted to reach you online, connect with you outside website, how can they reach you?
Website is beautifulbrains.com. That's, I mean, business-wise, that's the best way to reach me. Like, our business isn't really on social media.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I'm on social media. I am Christian Johnson, Instagram. But other than that, yeah, the website is the best way.
Bet. So thank you so much. We really
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you for
This has
taking
been
your
a great
time to do
conversation.
this.
We definitely have you coming back
Y'all
for
are
sure.
dope.
Yeah.
We're going to do that for sure. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of We Are the Ones podcast. Make sure you follow us on all of the major streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. We're on Audible as well. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us across all of the social media platforms at We Are the Ones podcast.
And remember, keep winning on purpose because you are the one we have been waiting for.
Hey.